Welcome to the Vegan Squad Health and Fitness Summit. I am John Thomas, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan, and I am so glad you are here. We have so much information, knowledge, experience to share with you, and I'm so excited for all that you're about to get to learn. Make sure you guys stay until the end of the videos. There is a huge special going on. If you haven't already taken part in it, it will be in the description box down below. And I'm also going to include the link to the VIP tickets that you've already purchased in case you want to send it to a friend. If you need anything else, reach out to me or any of your Vegan Squad coaches. We're here to support you on your journey to becoming the best you can be with your health and fitness. We'll see you inside.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, everyone here, let's grow. Okay, who is excited about 2026 and living your best life ever? Who has sprouted before? Just give me some indications if you guys have sprouted at all. Scale of 1 to 10, you're down with sprouting, or 1, you've never sprouted before. Okay, me. Okay, have not. Okay, interested. Not even sure what sprouts are. I love it. Never, but dad does. Okay, smart dad. I wish my dad was a sprouter. Okay, so we're going to just jump in here. You guys are taking your Sunday to make some decisions for yourself for your new year. And I have to tell you, every single day you vote and you can change your destiny, right? So there's things that you cannot control in this life, right? Some people say you can, you chose your parents, this and this. I'm like, okay, we were dealt a hand, right? I grew up in New York City. I went to school in Harlem, and I couldn't pay attention for 5 minutes to anything, and I had to carve my own way. I went into the army. I was a juvenile delinquent, and that was my hand. When I realized that I had control of my hand, and that the better I played my hand, the better my outcomes would be, the better my life would be, that's when everything kind of turned in my favor. And I realized, like, you have this hand, and then you have free will. And the free will is, do you go to the gym? Do you pass on the junk? Do you take the massive initiative? Do you read what you need to read? Do you get sucked down doom scrolling in TikTok? These are all things that are within your control, right? I'm going to tell you, there are things called addictions, right? And addictions are when you give up your free will to someone else's free will or some substance's free will, and then that can take over. And I see it all the time, whether it's gambling, sex, drugs, alcohol, screen time, junk food. We are surrounded by addictions. And if we are aware of them, we can take control. One of the things that I took control of 26 years ago, and so I am, and I hope you tell me you don't believe it, I'm 59 years old. I'm going to be 60 years old on my next birthday. And I feel better than I ever have in my entire life. I feel clear. I feel energetic. I have no pain. And I just have desire, to be of service. So thank you, John, for inviting me to be part of this team of vegan. I got to tell you, there's some shit coming downhill of the anti-vegan stuff. And vegans who now are becoming meat eaters and saying they no longer believe in it. I can tell you the difference to me between being plant-based and being vegan is vegan, you're doing it for someone other than yourself. Like you are taking a higher ground of giving beyond your own selfish part. And people who are plant-based, thank goodness they're plant-based, because everyone who's eating a plant is not eating an animal, right? They're not eating an animal. So God bless them, eat the plants, and do what you can. Being vegan is about, doing no harm to any loving sentient creatures, no exploitation. It's like giving yourself the hard path. But the joy of being vegan is like the joy of being a parent. It's the joy of being a partner. It's the joy of being awake in a world that wants us to be asleep. So this is not just a plant-based seminar. This is a vegan seminar. So you guys are at a whole other level. And if you're not there for all those aforementioned reasons, you are welcome to join and do some homework and read about it. So what we're going to talk about today is my insight. What did I learn from being vegan, from being plant-based, from being awake? So 33 years old, I had an awakening because my mother died of stomach cancer. My father died of heart disease. My aunt developed type 2 diabetes, had a double amputation of both of her feet below her ankles, and then my brother had the first of 3 strokes and 3 heart attacks, and he was in his 30s. So I thought that I was genetically cursed. So on one hand, I thought like, hey, I'm just making money. I got a girlfriend. I got in a house. Like, I'm like in my own delusional world. And then it struck me that health really mattered. And they say when the student is ready, the teacher will come. My teacher came. My teacher came and she told me that I was not genetically cursed, that I was living a toxic, carcinogenic lifestyle, and that if I changed what I ate, I could change my genes. And I didn't know these fancy terms of epigenetics and the like. I didn't know any of that. But what I did know was I had nothing to lose because I was 36 pounds overweight. I was like falling asleep in meetings, in the middle of the afternoon, and I was drinking Coca-Cola, eating whole bars of chocolate, eating fast food, and I associated with food with success and abundance. The fact that I could buy 2 hot dogs on the street without thinking twice, or Mr. Softy ice cream, or get whatever I want in McDonald's, right? Or go to a fancy restaurant and eat all of this. I thought like I was successful. And I didn't realize and I didn't know how important it was to raise the standard of what I was willing to consume. And then I met this guy, you can find him, on the internet, Paul Nissan. And Paul was participating in this food diet of Battle of the Diet seminar. And this woman, Denise Maury, took me to that. And someone was talking about vegan, vegetarian, and Paul was raw vegan. I never heard of such a thing, raw vegan. I read David Wolf's book, Nature's First Law, Raw Food Diet, Gabriel Cousins, Doug Graham, all these other things. And my mind was blown because it was incomprehensible to me that a day could go by that I didn't have to eat meat, chicken, fish, pizza, or pasta every single day. And the idea of eating fruits or eating vegetables was incomprehensible to me. And I said, let me try it. And it was much easier than doing a water fast, but I did it. And before I knew it, 1 day went by, 2 days went by, and now it's 26 years April will be 27 years of me being vegan, almost exclusively raw. But, you guys aren't holding me. I will eat a steamed artichoke. I'll eat some steamed broccoli. I'll eat some steamed vegetables here and there. But my go-to is raw. And I love raw. And being mostly raw for all of these years, I lost the 36 pounds. I gained some muscle. I gained the energy. I'm not like all of you. Every one of you looks, from what I've seen this community, much more buff with me. I could show you some flexes. I got some guns. But the reality is, I've been doing this for health, and now my mission is feeding the world. And so I ate this diet of mostly raw for, 20 years. And then 7 years ago, I ended up in the Mojave Desert near Joshua Tree because my business collapsed, my relationships collapsed, and being alone is confronting. And being alone without drugs and alcohol is really confronting. So I raised my hand. I said, I'm going to go to the desert and I'm going to be alone and I'm going to focus on myself. No TV, no cable, no friends. I'm here. And the desert confronted me. And the biggest confrontation was, the reality was, there was no healthy food, no farmers markets, no supermarkets, no grocery stores, no vegan restaurants. So I was challenged with, what was I going to do for food? And then one day, while staring up at the Milky Way, billions of stars, I got the download that I could grow and eat sprouts. And I knew all about sprouts. I'd been sprouting at the time for over 20 years. But I always thought of sprouts as a garnish or as a side dish. And I knew they were super nutritious. But here, the universe said, Doug, you can live on sprouts. And with 6 jars in 1 cubic foot, I was growing thousands of calories a day of plant-based nutrition, living nutrition. And 30 days exclusively, I ate sprouts. And guess what? I am still here. And the insight that I got, and I'm going to cut right to the chase for all of you. The insight that I got was seeds are like magical items. They are complete living organisms in a dormant state. And we're familiar with eating poppy seeds and sesame seeds and pumpkin seeds, right? Sunflower seeds. But the idea of sprouting a seed, well, what happens there? Like, what's going on there? And it turns out that, I don't know, you can show things like, who has seen John Lewis, Badass Vegans movie, They're Trying to Kill Us? Has anyone seen that movie? We got a few thumbs up here. So you can find it, on the internet. That movie was basically how the system and the society was trying to take advantage and exploit underserved people by giving them processed food and trying to kill them. And John got this close. He got one sprout away from selling that movie to a network, providing he edited out 30 minutes of it, which was basically the whole smoking gun against the big companies and the like. And John chose not to compromise his values, but to keep the film intact. And as a result, the film has not yet taken off and exploded, and it never got onto any network on Netflix or Hulu or any of the streaming things. It's just, it's just living out there waiting to be unleashed. But I realized that. And the same thing happened with sprouts, that sprouts are complete living organism. Sprouts, these are some mung bean sprouts in a sprouting company jar. These sprouts contain the root, the shoot, the endosperm, the embryo, every amino acid to form complete proteins, antioxidants, bioflavonoids, soluble and insoluble fiber. And it was more than enough to keep me healthy and happy for 30 days. I could have kept going, except I'm a food addict, and I got invited to a party and they had other food, so I ate some food other than the sprouts, still vegan. But I realized that my experiment of living on sprouts was easy peasy. Now, when you think about what does it mean to grow sprouts, you can grow sprouts without soil, without sunshine, without fertilizer in days. You can take 10 grams of seeds and add water and rinse them twice a day, and those 10 grams will turn into 100 grams, 10x in 5 days. And this is the miracle, the magic that the universe, I don't know whether you believe in God or what, but the universe, nature, this is repeatable. This is scientific. This is proven. You take seeds, you add water, they sprout, and they turn into vegetables in 5 days without soil, sunshine, or fertilizer for under $1 a serving. And I'm scratching my big head saying, why isn't everybody sprouting? Like, this is too good to be true. Why isn't everyone sprouting? So I'm going to take a pause here. I got the comments open. But Jonathan, are you sprouting?
No, I haven't. This is fascinating what you're saying. We've gotten some things that's already sprouted. I think it was at Whole Foods, and it's already been sprouted up and put it with some juicing. Yes. Right. But this is fascinating what you're saying.
Okay. So thank you. So you've seen it, but no one has shared with you that you could grow your own sprouts in your kitchen countertop in normal conditions with water and air sequestering carbon from the existing atmosphere, that you could be growing your own vegetables without soil, sunshine, fertilizer in days. So most people don't know about sprouting. I interviewed John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods. And I said to John, what do you think about sprouts? And he goes, oh, I love sprouts. And I said, well, what do you think about the sprouting business? And he goes, oh, it's a shit business. I said, what do you mean? He goes, there's no money in sprouts. Sprouts have a short shelf life, low margin, require refrigerated distribution, and as a result, there are no big sprout companies. There's big food companies, there's big beverage companies, there's big tobacco companies, there's big pharma companies, but there are no big sprout companies. Hello, Heather. Long time no see. So there's no big sprout companies. And I said, well, why not? He goes, there's no money in it. And I was like, oh. And I go, so where does Whole Foods make its money? And he goes, it's so obvious. Things are in a bag, in a box, in a jar, in a can, in a bottle that have been pasteurized, denatured, artificial preservatives, natural preservatives, wax and paraben coatings, that the food business is dominated by things that are highly profitable, that have a long shelf life. And that's not sprouts. Sprouts have short shelf life, no margins. The average lettuce, and I'm sure people here, I don't even need to do a survey, have seen the greens that are in the clamshell, pre-washed greens in the clamshell or in a bag. And I'm all for those, but they have a 21-day shelf life. Like, they are transported across the country, and they're doing some magic on those that probably has more chlorine, than your swimming pool, in order to reduce the bacterial load. Because we live in a society that doesn't want bacteria. Like, if it were up to our government, they would be hosing us down with Purell, at every step of the way, ignoring the mind-body connection of microbiome and bacteria and the 38 trillion non-human organisms that live in our microbiome. So there's a complex world. But sprouts, what is true is they're a short shelf life. You grow them and you really need to eat them. So as a result, this is nature saying you can buy them in the store and then you got to eat them. But there's no big companies, there's no big profit. And, everything I'm saying here, you can validate on your own with ChatGPT or whatever AI engine, you're communicating with. But the fact is that the large consumer packaged goods companies, they spend more money on packaging and marketing and distribution than they do on the ingredients that go into the jar or the box. Like that's just the way it is. So if we're looking at like where the money is, that's where the money is. What I'm talking about is like, where's the health, right? Where is the health? And the health comes with us raising our decisions. And sprouting is something like, this is a real miracle. This is, our simple sprouting kit, right? And this is made out of recycled plastic and it's a stand. What's important for me is the stainless steel filter, the organic seeds, and that a quarter cup of seeds, right? 4 tablespoons of seeds in 5 days fills up the entire jar with sprouts, giving you about 6 servings of sprouts. And so these 6 servings of sprouts, this can literally change your life. Like, you get to raise your standard because sprouts are one of the only things that you can eat, which is a complete living organism. So when you're consuming the sprout, you're consuming the root, the shoot, the endosperm, the embryo, the testa. So it's enzymatically active. It's living food. So when you're consuming this living food, it's very bioavailable. They contain this soluble and insoluble fiber, and it's fast. So seeds, you can eat seeds, right? We talked about that earlier. Seeds are very edible, but seeds also have a coating on them that can have enzyme inhibitors and can have lectins. And I'm not in the anti-lectin camp by any stretch of the imagination, but when you sprout or you cook, you reduce the lentil, you reduce the lectin content. But when you're sprouting, you have bioavailable food. And it turns out that in the sprouting stage is when you get to have the meristematic stem cells of the plants. This is when you're adding the water, you're triggering germination, and the microbiological activity is causing a fusion-like factor. And you reduce the enzyme inhibitors, you reduce the phytic acid, you're triggering the biochemistry for germination, and within days, this seed is turning into a vegetable. And the vegetable is extremely concentrated at this small stage. Just like when you have a little baby. The little baby is a complete human being. It's not less of a baby. It has 2 eyes, it has a nose, has a mouth, has a heart, has all the internal organs. It's totally concentrated. When the baby grows up, it starts to have more fat, more muscles and the like, but the core internal organs are finite. And it turns out a lot of the phytonutrients and isothiocyanates in the seed are the most concentrated state, and you can eat the seed, but the seeds aren't as bioavailable as the sprouts that have this soluble and insoluble fiber that want to be easily digested. So if you have a choice of even taking something that is, in this community, you're probably eating lentils and quinoa, and if you sprout a lentil, you increase the vitamin C by 300%. You quadruple the antioxidants. And we already have 1 billion people eating lentils and dals around the world. By eating them in a sprouted form, you're getting this whole layer, this whole wave of additional benefits that are just game changing. So in this stage, I'm going to take a pause and open it up to questions. Wherever you want to go with this, I'm here to serve. Okay, Jesse, you look very attentive. What do you got? Oh, you got mute on, Jesse.
I am just absorbing right now. I don't think I have any questions. I'm actually not somebody who has had a lot of sprouts. My partner he was pretty raw before, like raw vegan for some time. And we would have some delicious raw meals, and he would get sprouts sometimes, and I really enjoyed them, but I never really sprouted on my own. And it's not something that I buy often, which I should really change.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
for very little money, right? It's like for the cost of going out to dinner, you could set yourself up with a sprouting kit and be growing servings of sprouts for under $1 a serving. And what I love is the food equality component of this, right? Because, to go to an expensive restaurant, is a luxury, right? And sometimes paying more doesn't get you more, right? And sprouts are something that literally, Ashley is asking about any seeds. So Ashley, I'm in the business, so full disclosure. So my company, the Sprouting Company, we sell seeds. And after writing the book, I wrote the Sprout book. I have a copy I can show you, but I wrote the book. I listed resources in there. I taught about sprouting using cheesecloth and mason jars and the like. And then I felt like, why am I in scarcity? Why don't I design the best sprouting equipment possible? And why don't I take all of my frustrations with the seeds? Like, you could buy seeds in the bulk bin, of the grocery store, but they could be 5 years old and non-viable. So I went through and I said, what do I want for seeds? I said, I want seeds that are like 85% to 90% germination. I want seeds that are certified organic. I want seeds that, because I'm eating them and I'm eating them raw, I want to test these batches for pathogens. So for every batch of seeds, and we buy our seeds by the metric ton, so 2,200 pounds of seeds, we take a scoop of the seeds, we grow them out, we take the wastewater, we send it off to a lab, and we're looking to make sure that there's no funky stuff in it. And turns out now, with, literally tens of thousands of pounds of seeds, the organic high germination seeds that are grown, no issues. We just had no issues. But I wanted to get those seeds because I'm constantly, hosting, and people are buying seeds randomly, and they're not germinating, they're not clean. So that's where I just rose the standards. I raised the standards for myself and putting it out there. Also, there's a whole chapter of the medicinal properties of sprouts. So I want to just cover that. So I look at sprouts, number one, as food. I look at sprouts as number two, as vitamins. So a lot of people, especially here in a workout community, they need a lot of protein. I used to use protein powders, and now I eat the protein-oriented sprouts, the lentils, the mung beans, the garbanzo beans, and the green peas. And if you're getting enough calories from eating enough of those, you're going to get enough protein. And when you mix and match certain sprouts, like alfalfa sprouts and lentil sprouts and broccoli sprouts and mung bean sprouts, you actually fill in the amino acid profile that you're actually getting complete high protein concentrations across these sprouts when you're sprout combining on the amino acids. So if you were to talk to your nutrition or dietitian, they're not going to know a lot about sprouts. But if you say, am I better off getting my nutrition from food versus a supplement, I think they will say, if you can get it from a food, you're better than getting it from a supplement. The problem is most people aren't eating high quality foods, and that's where sprout just links in, to giving that level of nutrition. And then the third, and this is where it's like mind blown, right? The third is that sprouts are medicine. There are more than 2,000 peer-reviewed published studies on sulforaphane, the anti-cancer compound in broccoli sprouts alone. And there's papers about how they kill cancer cells, how they detoxify benzene and air pollutants from the lungs, how they can help regulate insulin levels in diabetics, how they can how they can literally produce GLP-1 secretions, because sprouts are high fiber, high nutrient, low fat, low calorie. So if you're eating a lot of sprouts, you will fill up and your body will naturally secrete GLP-1 and tell the brain, hey, I'm full, like I'm finally full. Except it's not a fullness through chemistry, it's a fullness through actually being full. Actually being full because you're consuming, I'm going to get you in a second, Jonathan. So you're being full because you're getting this high quality nutrition, and instead of bricking your stomach for a week, you actually, the GLP-1 passes through, and then you, guess what? You have an opportunity to eat some more sprouts, which means you're going to be getting high nutrient dense foods into your system. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but you have to be part of it, right? You have to be part of it. The people that are getting shots, of Wegovy and Ozempic, they just want to like turn something over to a system so they don't have to think about it. And they're estimating by 2026, 2027, they'll have 40% of the U.S. population on a weight loss drug. And they're now making a pill form of this, which is insane because there are side effects to that. And okay, Jonathan, yes, sir.
Doug, this is a master class. I'm just blown away, man. You got me going down a rabbit hole here. Doug, is there like a cookbook? Is there a Sprouts book that let me say this, Doug, that would combinate different sprouts for different things that you're targeting, right? On your health journey?
Yeah. I mean, the Sprout book is a national bestseller. I think it's on sale at Amazon for $11. And it's
called the Sprout book? It's called the
Sprout book, yeah. Sprout book. Okay. I got to keep it simple, Jonathan.
All right.
So the Sprout book is there. I also, released a free recipe book that you could get off of the sproutingcompany.com. It's a free book. It's 100 recipes. We made that just came out. And the idea of this is literally the next stage of precision nutrition that I see is taking someone's blood work, their urine sample, their hair follicle, their iridology, and finding out what they are deficient or depleting with and replenishing it with sprouts. But right now, what I can tell you is the more sprouts that you're eating, the better your poops will be, the more energy that you will have, and the fuller you will feel. Like this is all very possible for you to be able to assemble ideal plant-based nutrition for yourselves. Okay, we have other questions? Okay, then I will continue. So one of the other things that I do is I created simple ways of how to eat sprouts. And one thing I will say is the first thing that I want to eat before dinner and before any other snack is sprouts. Because if you eat anything that has salt or anything that has oil, then you will not be able to consume the sprouts. You won't have the desire. Your brain will already be tripped. It's like, being drunk. So the dangerous things in the house, other than fire, right, or firearms, right, are salt, oil, and sugar, because they will make you overeat. So, in your case, and in this case, you understand the impact of what you consume and how that will affect your body and your structure. So in this case, you want to eat the sprouts first. And if you're making smoothies, you can see how it feels like, all of a sudden, I don't know how the world survived without creatine until it came on the map 2 years ago. And now all you hear about is creatine. And I'm like, BC must have stood for before creatine, right? So now, so there's always going to be something. And what I love about sprouts is that sprouts have been around since the beginning of time. And when I see an apple, when I see a banana, when I see a head of cauliflower, I say, that's a mature sprout. That's just a mature sprout. So in my mind, the beginning of all food are seeds that are germinated. And take broccoli, for example. You sprout broccoli, turns into a broccoli. You sprout a broccoli seed, turns into a broccoli sprout, turns into a broccoli microgreen, turns into garden stage broccoli, right? So one seed will literally turn into, 5 pounds of mature broccoli. And if you let that broccoli continue to grow, it will then flower, and those flowers will bud and turn into fruit and have fruit, which in this case is pods, and inside of each of those pods will be seeds. So one broccoli seed in one circle in 1 year can increase its volume 1,000 times. And this is the infinite abundance of nature. And so by us eating these abundant seeds, we're getting this concentrated level of nutrition, which is so all powerful. And it's it's available for us. But I got to tell you, I don't know of anyone else who's going to scream at you on a Sunday afternoon about sprouts, because everyone's focused on something else. And it's much easier. I'm going to share. It's much easier to just take a powder, take a pill, take a shot, than it is to be invested into your creation of and curation and creation of your perfect physique, of your perfect body, and where you want to go, in your life. Thank you, Ashley. So, Kayla, store-bought sprouts fully blended that I could try. Yeah, of course. Store-bought issues. So if you're going to be buying sprouts from the store, you want to look at them, use your intelligence, use your senses, smell them, make sure they don't smell funky, look at them to make sure that they're crisp and clean, right? Touch them, make sure they don't feel slimy, right? So, we've been blessed with our, senses to help guide us to what to eat or not to eat. And when you see fresh sprouts, you're going to want to eat them. They're going to feel good. You're going to want to consume them, and you have. So homegrown sprouts, if you grow them, you rinse them off, you salad spin them, you dry them, you put them in the fridge, they last for a few days. For me, I'm constantly growing and eating. Like this is my life. And every time I eat sprouts, like I just feel like, oh my God, thank goodness I'm turned on to sprout intelligence, because they just go through me and they feel just phenomenal. And this is, we're December 28th, 2025, right? The little sprouting company, that we started a couple of years ago has now, sold over 50,000 bags of seeds, 20,000 pounds of seeds, and people around the world are sprouting. And I just see the momentum, but this is really relying on really word of mouth. Like literally, I went on the Shark Tank. It aired on October 22nd and December 3rd. And like a little blip in sales. Like, these people are cooked. Like it's going to take more than watching. Yeah, someone, Ashley just said, have I gone on Shark Tank? Yeah, I went on Shark Tank and I passed on the sharks. like I just passed on it because I didn't feel aligned. I didn't feel aligned, with them. And let me just see. Holy cow. Hold on. I might give you a treat here. But it was so funny being on national TV. I was expecting, oh my God, they got 10 million people are going to be watching this. Everyone's going to, buy Sprouts. And no. It's like a few people got into sprouting and, I think I gained 10 followers on social media. I'll gain more followers on social media from talking to the choir than I will from, talking to mainstream America. That's where when I opened this up and I said, you're my people, I was very serious because this makes this thing, hold on, December 23rd. Okay. Now, the only reason I'm going to show this to you is because Disney, ABC, and Amazon, they are not posting this on social media. So you literally have to watch, they want you to have a paid thing. But here we go. Let's see if I get volume up. Sharks, what if I told you that you could grow the most nutrient-dense food on the planet in 5 days on your kitchen countertop without soil, without sunshine, without fertilizer? That, my friends, is the miracle of sprouting. They are up to 100 times more nutritious than the average vegetable. Everyone should be eating sprouts, which is why I started the Sprouting Company. Our countertop system, guaranteed to sprout seeds delivered to your door. 1/4 cup of seeds turns into 5 cups of sprouts in 5 days for under $1 a serving. We're already leading the industry. Sharks, I've planted the seed. Who's ready to sprout this revolution? Let's grow!
All right.
Way to go.
Is there caffeine in these sprouts?
Doug, what do we got in front of us here?
Yeah.
That is a sprout smoothie.
This tastes good. It had banana in it, right?
It has
Very
banana,
good.
It has sprouted garbanzo beans and sprouted lentils.
It sounds
Am I
disgusting,
getting protein
but it
in
tastes
this?
good.
20 grams.
I want to eat something that's sprout dense.
So
That's
eat the
salad.
sprout salad. For me,
This is nice.
I live
Yeah, it's refreshing.
exclusively on sprouts for 30 days.
Why did you do that?
Because
You're a maniac, Doug. That's why.
We designed a countertop sprouting system. You take the jar, you put in 1/4 cup of seeds,
Yes.
you soak them overnight, and then you rinse them twice a day. And
You
then
don't need any special light source
no
like
sunlight,
behind
no
home.
soil. This is the mystery and the magic of sprouts.
Okay, Doug,
Yeah.
it's official. You have become the Shark Tank Sprout Guy.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever come on here in 17 years with more knowledge about sprouts than you.
I just want to tell you something else.
He wrote the
Wait,
book.
there's a book.
Literally wrote the book on it.
He
on
wrote the
sprouts.
book.
This is a national bestseller.
Tell us your background.
In 1999, my aunt developed type 2 diabetes, and they chopped off both of her feet below her ankles.
Brutal.
And then my mother died of stomach cancer. And before I could finish grieving the loss of my mother, my father died of heart disease. And then my brother, he became overweight, obese, diabetic, the first of 3 strokes and 2 heart attacks.
Do you think it's all diet related?
100% was diet related. So I had my come to sprout moment in 1999. That's when I started Organic Avenue in New York City doing cold pressed juices, raw food, salads, and sprouts. We started off in 125 square foot in the armpit of New York City. And then we ended up having 12 stores.
Wow.
And then we had an 8-figure exit to KKR in 2012.
Wow.
Congrats.
What a
Really
story.
impressive.
Amazing story.
Incredible story.
You have an incredible entrepreneurial story. The food system in America is bad. It's making us sick. Solutions like this should win.
You know I love microgreens and sprouts. I'm a believer in the mission.
So I'm going to offer you $500,000 for the same thing. You got 2 options here between Kevin and I.
I have to say, I love you guys, and I don't feel fully seen. I think that right now I'm
No,
just...
we've seen you. You look good.
see you. You're
I just
You're
want to say-
impressive. You are one of the best entrepreneurs I've seen with exits, history, and a passion.
Kevin, I was very clear. That is my bottom line. I just don't want to waste any time. When the Sharks get home tonight, after the sprouts have taken over their brain and their microbiome, the Sharks are going to say, we should have backed that deal.
That was awesome, Doug. That was awesome.
So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. My people, like, they just saw the money, and I didn't feel like they were going to participate in my January Sprout Challenge and eat sprouts. And then, like they were making like lowball offers. And for me, like, I'm not in a rush. Like, I'm not worried about someone chasing me, and doing this. Like, this is a long journey, and I've done the work. So I'm aware of my worth, and I hope that each one of you are aware of your worth. And I realized that on a national platform, I didn't want to just bend over and just take whatever they wanted to offer. Like, I just feel like we live in an abundance consciousness. We have a lot of opportunities. If we do the work, it'll manifest. And I went in there, and had I not like prepared for that presentation as if I was going into the Mr. Olympia, tournament, right? I would have taken anything. But instead, like, I delivered my pitch exactly, unequivocally, word for word, how I rehearsed that doing it. And I also came up with my bottom line. And I said, look, I'm not going to, I'm willing to negotiate, but I'm not going to just take their offer. I won't be sucked into the enthusiasm and the moment, or the shame, right? Going on the Shark Tank and not getting, a deal. Like, I was okay. And I was even okay with the show not airing, right? Because sometimes if you don't get a deal, they don't air the show. And then the other thing, that I couldn't be too arrogant, because if you're too arrogant, you can't make the Sharks look bad, right? It's their show. So I want to have a fine line between kissing the ring but not kissing the ass, right? There's a fine line, and that's what that's what I felt like I accomplished, in that show. But it didn't really move the needle for sales. Like, just being real, like, we sold more going into LA Hollywood Farmers Market, and I'm walking around putting sprouts on people's, Napoleons and pizza and burgers, and just giving samples, and doing it. And that's where, like, you just take your time and stick to your mission, and you could do that. So with this, what I will say is, have the best New Year ever. Thank you so much. My Instagram is just Doug Evans.
Okay.
DOG Evans. There we go.
So much.
Okay. Guys, thanks so much. Coach Samara, knock the ball out of the park.
Thank you.
It's all you. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy holidays. Thanks for your attention today.
Happy New Year, Doug.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.
Doug is so inspiring, is he not?
I know.
Amazing. I love it, Doug. Thank you so much. So, my chat is about to start, everyone. We're going to be going over anti-inflammatory lifestyle. I'm going to be sharing my story with you guys as well. But before I get into my chat, one of my fellow coaches, Melissa, Alexis, or Alex, whichever one of you is available, is going to drop the link into the chat here for the form to fill out. Remember, we're playing this game after every chat today, guys. So there's going to be a form coming in the chat box here. Fill out this form. You're going to get a call from one of us coaches, and you're going to win a month of free one-to-one coaching with one of our coaches.